Hello and welcome to another episode of DCU Daily times Also Curious or Also Curious time DCU Daily, whichever way you want to look at it. We are back and we are here to talk about all the latest news from the world of Hollywood. We've got a review for Beetlejuice coming up. Josh Brolin has apparently decided that he's a little too good for the world of the DCU, or maybe he just thinks it's not the right role for him. We'll talk about that, of course. And we have to look ahead to the movies coming out this week. The Killer's Game. We've got Speak No Evil with James McAvoy. And we have to talk about Spider-Man 4 finding a new director and the director of Shang-Chi. But what does that mean for Shang-Chi 2? Is that still happening? There's that and so much more beyond that. So let's get that show started. Hello. How is everybody doing? Angelina, how's your day going?
That's how I feel on deep level. I
think we've all felt that at one point.
Yeah, it's just my gallons of water. It's like 99 degrees outside. It's terrible. I'm like, oh God, kill me. We're making it though. We're making it. It's fine.
That's good. Well, hey, we're making it happen, right? It's Tuesday. It's the first full week of September, if I'm correct. I might be wrong about that anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
But hey, John, are you excited for the fall season, or are you still sort of like having some
I'm stoked for the fucking cold weather because I'm in my room and it feels like fucking 90 degrees right now. Probably see it like damn, look how fucking bright that is. Get that out of here, Jesus. And so I'm like, I'm gonna beg my parents later to please put on the fucking air conditioning because I don't think I can fucking take a minute of this.
On in your house?
No, we have this thing. We have this big fan that's connected to the attic that like circulates the air, and it's been pretty cool for the past few days. But now it's like really fucking hot, and I'm like, I just want these.
Yeah, we are experiencing Hell Week here in Los Angeles. It's been like 101 every day.
No, I'm not envious of that at all.
I mean, it's like by comparison, it's like 73 degrees here and on the East Coast, at least where we are.
76 right now.
That's beautiful outside.
That's perfect
it's not
weather,
beautiful.
You know?
I mean, anything above 70 is like hell for me, but like anything under that, I'm like, okay.
I think I would take that as a win.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously you would because it's like fucking the devil's asshole, and we're in fucking LA right now.
Yeah.
So
precisely.
I don't blame you. But also, I'm weird. I don't like hot weather, so there's also that. So
it's all good, man. At least we now know that is not a basement because the sun does shine.
Yeah, I got a window. Oh, Jesus, that is fucking bright.
But he still might be a vampire, everybody.
Oh, I am definitely a vampire. I mean, look at how the fucking light bounces off my skin. I am what
another day of us
the mystic call a vampire, but in actuality, I'm just Irish. So I'm Irish. I'm half Irish. So that's where I get my skin.
Not doing it today, guys. Sorry.
This is a great start to the show as always. We're gonna start as we always do. We're gonna start off with the news, and then we'll get into the movie reviews and the DCU news after that. But let's get into the news from the world of Hollywood, and then we've got lots to talk about.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see corn.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
As always, it's been a busy week in Hollywood. Yesterday was Monday. Today is Tuesday. If you're not watching this live, well, today was Tuesday. So we have a lot of news to get into. Of course, we have some stuff going on in Netflix. Adam Sandler, he's got an exclusive deal over there. He's been in the house of Netflix for a while. And we recently heard that Happy Gilmore was going to get a sequel finally. Happy Gilmore 2.
Just
Happy Gilmore, Happy Gilmore, Happy Gilmore, I don't know. Bad Bunny is now set to join.
Bad Bunny. I like how you put emphasis on the end of it. Bad Bunny.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you say his name. That's the proper pronunciation. So he's now joining the Adam Sandler sequel, which will also have Julie Bowen and Christopher McDonald coming back in their roles from the original 1996 movie. So I'll start with you, Angelina. What are your thoughts on this? Is this making you any less excited for this? Did you even know there was a Happy Gilmore 2 happening? Like, what are your thoughts on this news?
No. So A, I didn't know that Bad Bunny ever acted. I'm a little confused. B, I didn't, them bringing back sequels to like 90s movies is kind of wearing thin on me a little bit. But obviously I was a big Adam Sandler fan growing up. My stepdad was a huge fan. We used to watch all the movies. He's a funny dude. Do I feel like a lot of the 90s movies that sequels are coming out today have fallen very flat for me? Yeah. Do I think it's the best move? No. And why the fuck Bad Bunny has anything to do with it? I'm very confused. So that's where I'm at on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, John, what are your thoughts on this? Do you have any answers for Angelina regarding
he was
why Bad Bunny is in this movie?
He was in Bullet Train. He was in Bullet Train for like 2 seconds. And then he was going to be in that Sony-produced El Muerto Spider-Man spinoff that never happened because they realized who gives a flying fuck about El Muerto. So they're like, yeah, let's not do this. We're already ruining Madam Web and Morbius, so let's not ruin this guy that nobody cares about. So it's not going to make money anyway, so let's just fucking cancel it. Focus on Craven and Venom and all the other movies that are not going to make any money because nobody likes these fucking shit fests of movies. So they're like, all right,
let's come out or no? It hasn't come out yet.
What?
Craven?
Yeah, it's coming
no. It got pushed.
Yeah,
it's now coming in December. Yeah,
December, and then Venom: Last Dance is in October.
It's so sad to me because that actor is like a really phenomenal actor.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah,
and Tom Hardy.
Him really young. I mean, both of them are really incredible actors, but these projects are just like.
I think they're just having fun. They're like, sure, might as well.
I mean, I'm sure the paychecks are a reason.
And that too. They need another boat, so that's how it is. But yeah, I'm just like, hey, Bad Bunny, I barely know him as a musical artist. Can we stop making these fuckers actors? Just because you won a Grammy doesn't mean you should fucking be an actor. Has he won a Grammy? I don't even fucking know. Are the Grammys even relevant anymore? So
wait, okay. The Watcher said Bad Bunny was almost a Spider-Man villain at one point over at Sony. Let that.
Yeah, El Muerto. That's what I was talking about. Yeah. But what? He's like some character that was made 10 years ago. And they're like, let's make a movie out of him. And it's like, all right, why? And then they canceled it because they realized, oh, that's fucking stupid. So
I mean, think about it though. He's a big wrestling fan. He's wrestled many times for WWE, including in Puerto Rico. And quite frankly, as a celebrity, he does a pretty darn good job of pulling off all the moves in the ring. And El Muerto kind of has that wrestling background, right? That's the character's. And basically, the origin, he's kind of a wrestler, becomes a villain of some kind of super villain. But I mean, the acting part is really the key here, though. He can do stunts. Basically, what he did in Bullet Train was come in for a quick fight sequence with Brad Pitt, and then he just kind of dies.
Spoiler alert.
So it's if you haven't seen the movie yet, but that's really all he does there. So. I mean,
I don't
honestly,
know. Maybe he'll play some over the top villain or something. Maybe that could be funny. But it's but it's you have Christopher McDonald. So what's the fucking point? You have him.
But you gotta turn it up a little. Maybe you gotta turn it up a notch.
Just completely out of the loop here. I knew Bad Bunny as Bad Bunny, and I just knew his music and that he dated.
I don't even know his music.
That was it. I had no idea.
It's also so Bad Bunny obviously not only has he been doing work as an artist with selling out concerts all over the world, he is trying to expand. He has been trying to expand his repertoire as an actor. Of course, the problem is I don't think he's a very good actor ultimately, because even when he shows up to wrestle, he doesn't have a lot of talking to do. He's not somebody who they give the mic to and say cut a 10-minute promo. So I feel like if they
I don't think The
he's not Ric
Rock
Flair.
or Mark Wahlberg were very good at in the beginning either. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, it's true.
Mark Wahlberg
It's
still
true.
isn't good now. What are you talking about? Like, the man can barely fucking act.
Wow,
So
shots fired.
my point. See, so these people.
I guess that makes sense, but it's just like, I don't know. It's just like weird. I just feel like stop making Bad Bunny as an actor happen. It's not going to happen. It's like
clearly Sony learned from their mistake, because they were like, we're going to put this guy in the lead role. We're going to then Madam Web his character, because we're probably going to dub over everything he says. So let's not do that. So and honestly, that movie was only in development. It never got far enough that it could actually become something.
I agree with him.
You know,
because as an actor, it's really difficult right now, unless you're a nepo baby or unless you know somebody who knows somebody. Like, these people already know who they want to cast. They don't even usually watch.
I mean, yeah, that's for anybody. I mean, I'm trying to, I know acting is different, but it's still like same thing with like writing or directing from a crew. Like, I'm not even like asking. I'm like, bro, I'll just get coffee, and even that's like, oh, you need 20 years of experience getting coffee to be a fucking gopher at this point. So it's like, it sucks, and I think a lot of people here can identify with that, and it's just like any Joe. Oh, he can rap. Put him in a fucking movie. It's like, all right. Sure, I guess. Well, but it's like,
look, here's what I would say to that. Here's what I would say to this. Ultimately, the comparison I see here is, look at the Roadhouse movie, right? And in Roadhouse you had, what's the name of that the MMA? Why am I forgetting his name right now? How am I forgetting this? UFC. Come on, guys.
Why am I forgetting this? I used to.
It's Conor McGregor? Yes, Conor McGregor. I don't know why I just blanked on his name. I've got his face in my head.
And then when you blanked, I blanked. I was like, wait, what? Huh?
So in Roadhouse, Conor McGregor, who is not a good actor at all, but he's somebody who you can watch, like, he will throw a few lines in your face and you're like, okay, I get it. Just get to the fighting part already. He shows up. He has 2 different fights with Jake Gyllenhaal's character. He's this over-the-top villain who's not meant to be taken particularly seriously. Although, well, I guess that's relative depending on what your perspective of the movie is. I think Roadhouse is best enjoyed as a movie that's a little over the top and not, something that's taken at face value. But Conor McGregor shows up. He's this over-the-top villain. He's mostly there for the action sequences. He knows how to do that very well, of course, because of his MMA background. You've got here Bad Bunny, who has done a lot of action in the movies that he has been in, and of course he's got the wrestling background now. He's got some experience. I feel like that's the comparison we should be looking at. He's probably coming into this movie for an extended cameo-esque sort of a role. I don't think he's going to be in the movie as the main bad guy, and if he is, he's probably not going to talk too much. He's there to provide maybe an antagonizing force for Adam Sandler's character or whoever is leading this movie. But Happy Gilmore 2 is still going to be Happy Gilmore 2 at the end of the day. I don't think this becomes Bad Bunny's movie. He's there because he's marketable. He's there because they can put his name out there and be like, oh, he's in the film, and that draws in a crowd. So whether it's going to Netflix or whether it's going to theaters, I believe this is going to Netflix, it will still be a draw because you have his name attached to it. And, that's really all there is to it. So, yes, John,
I'm just confused. Like, what draw? What?
Okay.
I think
just because he's not popular in your bubble, all 3 of his. Okay, let's we're not here to offend Bad Bunny fans because there's a lot of them, and if you enjoy his music, great. If you don't, then
if you do, I mean, fine. But like, make yourselves known. I don't know who you are.
I like Bad Bunny.
Please make yourself known to John.
I don't think I like him as an actor. Like,
the Bad Bunny slander is
It's not slander. I just don't know who the fuck this guy is. Like, I'm 27.
You
Like
live
I
under
shouldn't
a
be this
rock?
out of the loop.
I mean, Caleb's like
He
seems
stole
to
the
think
show.
this
I
is.
barely remember him from that fucking movie. Like, what are you talking about? He was in the movie for like 5 minutes.
He was literally in the
about?
movie for like 5 minutes. That is true. But I mean, it was one of the better fights of the film. I will say that it was enjoyable. So
Speaking of Aaron Taylor
yeah.
Johnson, he and his brother, I forget the actor who played his brother, but Tangerine, the guy who was obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine, he stole the show. He was fucking awesome. I love that guy.
Is it by Brian Tyree?
Is it Brian Tyree Henry? Is that him?
Yeah,
Is that
I think that's Yes.
Like towards the end of the movie, he's like,
they need to give those two guys a spinoff. Like that needs to be Bullet Train.
Although they're
the twins.
half of them are dead now.
Bullet Train.
Well, I know, but I mean, maybe
I love I fucking love a lot of his lines where he's like, he's a diesel, ain't he? And then it's like, or like towards the end of the movie, he's like, I lost a brother today. And then Brad Pitt's like, oh, you gained another one? He's like, fuck no, what are you talking about? That guy stole the show. Not Bad Bunny, who was in it for 2 minutes and then fucking died. Get out of here with that.
I mean, although they were a little nebulous about that, it seemed like maybe his character was just sleeping with a knife in his chest. I don't know. He didn't quite bleed out. I'm just saying. Anyway, we got to move on. There's more news to talk about. So we do have this new Office series coming out. If you guys have not heard about this, let me tell you that they are making a new spin-off of The Office, the American Office, not the British Office. Nobody cares about that one. The American Office.
Now you're gonna piss off the British fans with that comment.
It's totally fine. It's an inferior show. It ran for half as many seasons. It's in the numbers. Nobody, I'm just saying it has a cult following. But if you think about The Office,
bro, Days of Our Lives and Survivor are still on the air. So don't talk to me about how many seasons. But quantity doesn't mean quality. I'm just saying.
You know what? All right, John. We're not getting to this argument. The Office is getting a new spinoff over at Peacock, and we now have 3 new cast members joining the fray. I'm not too familiar with these actors, but what are your thoughts on, again, just adding, more cast members? Because this is meant to be basically, I think it's a newspaper out in the Midwest is going to be the premise, as opposed to a paper company in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And the idea is, again, they're in a world where newspapers are about to go going extinct, and so it's a similar premise, except it's a newspaper company. And they already have the series being led by Domhnall Gleeson and Sabrina. I can't pronounce her last name, but Domhnall Gleeson is fantastic, and he's been in so many things. What are your thoughts on these 3 new actors, Chelsea Frey, Ramona Young, and Melvin Gregg, added to the list?
I don't know who any of them are, actually.
I know Melvin Gregg. I remember I used to watch him on Vine. Yeah, dating myself.
Wow, really?
Yeah, he was a huge Vine. He was like an actor at the same time, but he was like really big on Vine. I remember him from American Vandal. He was in season 2 of American Vandal, which, I mean, he's like fine as an actor. He kind of just plays the same role and everything, like just kind of like too cool for school, kind of like kind of guy where he's just like, he just kind of goes through life. He's like, yeah, I'm just too chill. I'm just chill like that, bro. And like that kind of vibe. I don't know the middle chick. Ramona Young was, I think, on Legends of Tomorrow. She had like a kind of a smaller part, but yeah, she was there and she was fine. I don't know the middle chick, but yeah, Melvin Gregg's fine and Ramona Young's fine.
Chelsea Frey. She's I think she was in the Moody's, was one of those shows, and she's on the red carpet for Thor: Love and Thunder. So maybe
okay.
I don't know if she was in that movie.
That's immediate turnoff. All right. Yeah, I don't care about that.
I don't know. I mean, The Office was such a pivotal show. Like, I feel like it has just such a massive cult following that, in a way, I'm kind of resistant to wanting to watch a new one. Like, I just don't understand why people can't fucking come up with new ideas. Like, I don't get it. I'm so over it. Like, just come up with something fucking new.
They don't, because the thing is, producers are impatient. They don't want to build an audience. They just want to take something that already has an audience and build something off.
Yeah, but so, like, I feel like The Office hasn't been off air for long enough to really necessitate a sort of reboot or revision of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's too soon. I feel like people are going to compare the two of them very closely. I just don't see it. Yeah.
I mean, it's true that they're gonna compare it. That's fair, but I mean, it's not like this is meant to be like a follow-up, right? It exists in
Yeah.
the same. It's more like a franchise thing, right? Like this is The
Yeah.
Office, because I mean, technically, as far as we're aware, the British Office and the American Office, and as much as I was shitting on the British Office earlier, it of course crawls so that the Office in the U.S. could walk, and now this series can hopefully run. And I would say even Parks and Rec, which was from the same creators, was a really great show that was on air around the same time as The Office. But this series exists in the same world as Michael Scott's series, so you're
And
probably gonna
the
see-
British Office too, because if
and
you
the British
remember,
Office, yeah.
Ricky Gervais made a cameo on the American Office,
which was
as
such
David
that
Grant.
was such one of the best cameos, like a short, precise, to the point, amazing. I loved it. But yeah, I mean, Caleb is saying it airs October 18th. It has an interesting premise. October, is it coming out this year? I didn't know that. I mean, Caleb, like, let us know. But yeah, the office workers are all told they're moving to a work from home model, and the manager has to try to keep the office culture alive. That is an interesting format. And you know what? For all the different shows that are out there right now, where they're trying to revive, like they have a new version of the Frasier, where they brought back Kelsey Grammer. They've got these other, all kinds of shows that are trying to harken back to the hits from the 70s and 80s, and maybe either reboot them or bring them back in some way. This show is still charting new ground. It's not like they're rebooting The Office. It's not like they're making a prequel. This is just another show that exists in the same world as The Office. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You can either like it, great, then you can watch it. If you don't, then you don't have to watch it. And if you do watch it, you probably will see some crossovers. You might see some actors from The Office pop in every once in a while. I don't know if any of the regulars from The Office are moving over to this. Unlikely, as far as I'm aware, but it is certainly good to see that they're adding more cast members here. And if it is indeed set to, I don't think it's set to come out.
Yeah, I don't think it's
this
supposed
year.
to come out this year. That
It's likely
sound right.
next year, Caleb. But like it's just interesting to see that NBC is really behind this, because obviously they've mined the creators behind the show for so much quality television over the years, from The Office to Parks and Rec, and even Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So they have a lot of there's a pedigree here that NBC trusts, and they've delivered every time in the past. So why not with this one? And Peacock can certainly use more premium television product on its service, because while they've had the Olympics and they've got sports, they've even got in the US, you can watch wrestling on there. You want to have more premium TV series. Now, with that said, guys, we do have to wrap up the news segment with a little bit more of a somber note today. This is something that happened yesterday, of course. The news came out. It was all over social media, as it should be. And it was all over our timelines. I think we were talking about it in our private chat. And we are currently working on one of those also memorable video tributes. So if you guys want, come back to the channel later tonight, and we'll have that video tribute up, because we want to pay homage to probably one of the greatest actors in the history of American cinema, television, and the stage. And he's certainly one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic, voices in the history of entertainment. That, of course, I'm talking about is James Earl Jones. He passed away yesterday at his home in New York, and he was 93 years old. So at the age of 93, he had a career that spanned over 60 years, or nearly 200 screen credits. He was an EGOT winner, one of the very few to have won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony, multiple Tonys. There's just nothing he didn't do, and there's nothing that he didn't accomplish. The very theater that he made his debut on now has his name on it. And he just leaves a lasting impression, whether it's the voice of Mufasa, or the voice of Darth Vader, or Field of Dreams. He's done countless television cameos. He was in the stage play Fences, for which he won one of his Tonys. The Sandlot, The Great White Hope, which put him on the map, really. He was in Doctor Strangelove. That was his debut film all those many years ago with Stanley Kubrick. So you could just keep going down the list. There's just so much that he accomplished over the years. And again, he was a towering presence, 6'2", and quite frankly, we're gonna miss his presence. I believe he sold the rights to his voice to Lucasfilm a while ago, so maybe that means that Darth Vader will still be James Earl Jones' voice down the road, but as of now, we have to sort of pay our respects. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what maybe are our best memories of his work. What do we think about when we think about James Earl Jones? I personally think for me it's Mufasa, it's Darth Vader. Angelina, I'll start with you. What are your biggest memories of James Earl Jones and the contributions?
Yeah, I mean, The Lion King was absolutely one of the first movies I ever watched as a kid. It was one of my favorite Disney movies. So I grew up with Mufasa's voice, and that was always James Earl Jr. He was incredible. I didn't even know he was Darth Vader for a long time. Oh, God, I can't even do it. Sorry. Yeah, but we're obviously losing an icon for stage, film, TV. He's definitely a part of what brought old Hollywood to new Hollywood, I would say, and I'm sad to see him go.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, I know you are a big fan of a lot of his work. What would you say is your most memorable performance from James Earl Jones?
I mean, the obvious ones are, Darth Vader and Mufasa, but like, I also want to give a shout out. A big one I remember watching as a kid was Field of Dreams. My dad showed me that movie, and that was very memorable for me because that was like the first time I saw, James Earl Jones on screen in live action. That was the first one I attributed that because Darth Vader is just his voice and Mufasa is just his voice. So this was like me seeing James Earl Jones as James Earl Jones. So, it was kind of that I remember the most. But yeah, obviously, his voice is up there with like Morgan Freeman and Tony Todd and all these other guys that are Keith David, just a lot of very memorable black voices. And I never saw The Sandlot, so I never got him that. But yeah, another big one was definitely Doctor Strangelove. I remember I was watching that. I forget if I like knew it or I didn't, but I saw him like, oh my God, holy shit, that's James Earl Jones.
That's James Earl Jones, like a very young James Earl Jones. Yeah.
This was like very, very, very young. This was, pretty sure his first real movie. But yeah,
it was his first screen credit in a film.
Yeah, he was. It was a small bit part, but it was still, it was like, holy shit, he still did a great job. And I never saw him like on like Broadway or anything like that. I never saw him there or anything like that. But it's kind of ironic that the last time we see him on screen in his last movie, Coming to America, his character dies. So I guess that's kind of a fitting ending for that. I guess it like kind of weirdly makes it kind of like how Kevin Conroy's last spoken word as Batman is like, if I go out like this, at least I'm going out being Batman, it's like, oh God, that hurts, but it's also fitting. So, it just kind of weirdly works. But yeah, James Earl Jones is just excellent. And he is now the final actor who played Darth Vader out of the 4 who played him in the original trilogy is finally passed away, because the first was David Prowse in 94, and then Bob Anderson passed away in 2012, and then David Prowse died in 2020. Sorry, Sebastian Shaw. It was in 1994. I apologize. But yeah, so out of the original Darth Vader actors, he is no longer, but he did give his permission to Lucasfilm to use his voice after his death posthumously. So we will be hearing him as Darth Vader as like an AI regenerated voice. He did give his permission, so we'll be hearing that again in some point in the future. So cool, I guess. A little awkward because I know AI is kind of a topic of discussion right now, but you know what?
But
it doesn't matter.
There's a good way to,
carry that.
There's a right
legacy.
way to do that. There's a wrong way to do that, and obviously, like the big part of the strikes last year, Angelina, was because they were trying to figure out how do we go about this in a way that is fair and equitable to the actors whose voice could be regenerated, and then how do they get compensated? Obviously, James Earl Jones entered into an agreement willingly to have that happen for him, so that the voice can live on even beyond him. Yeah, and of course you got an image right here on screen. He was in the Jack Ryan movies back in the 90s. He's done so many. He was in Coming to America. I'm like, Ray J was talking about that. Field of Dreams. This is one of those underrated movies. The bingo the long traveling all stars and Motor Kings. He's done so many things. There was a time when he did 18 plays in 30 months. He would regularly have like half a dozen movies coming out every year. He voiced Darth Vader back in the day, and he continued to voice the character in the newer iterations of the Disney Plus shows even. And he not only did he voice Mufasa in the 1996 movie, but he voiced Mufasa in the 2019 live
but
action
nobody
or
gives a fuck
CGI
about
remake of it. But also, I mean, there's a new Mufasa movie coming out this year. I mean, it's just the timing of it. I feel like now when that movie gets released, they're gonna have a dedication to James Earl Jones because he was the voice of Mufasa.
Is his voice going to be in that movie though? Because it's a young Mufasa.
It is.
It's a young Mufasa, so I don't think it would be.
But I think they're
or
probably
maybe-
going to do it anyway because it would be nice to do.
It would be, yes, a dedication would be. It would be appropriate. It would be apt. I think it would be a good move to do. And again, like his career spanned like 6 decades. He was working longer than we have been alive, probably combined. At an age 93, you'd imagine that a lot of he's lived a full life.
Is that Marlon Brando?
That's what it looks like, right?
Roots, the Next Generation. That is Marlon Brando.
That's what I said. I was like, he did a movie with Marlon Brando?
I think this was was this a TV show? It might have been a TV show. But
well, yeah, if it's Roots,
I mean,
it's probably another miniseries.
Yeah. Again, just a legacy that is going to last, forever, quite frankly, because he's going to continue to live on in our memories, long beyond, his career. And now that he leaves us at age 93, you can only look back and say, hey, he had a very fulfilling, very accomplished career, decorated career, and a life well lived. And so, everybody out there, I think the Watcher had a good comment. Join the dark side and together we will lose Father. It's just one of the many, or like the people will come, Ray, or remember who you are as Mufasa. He's just one of those iconic voices that will continue to echo in our hearts and minds for years and years to come, even though he's no longer with us. So with that said, guys, let's take a look back at a movie that is celebrating its 20th anniversary this month. And then on the other side of that, we're going to come back and we're going to review Beetlejuice. But Shaun of the Dead, it's been 20 years. Can you believe it? We certainly can. Holy shit. Let's take a look back at Shaun of the Dead.
Although no one official is prepared to comment, religious groups are calling it Judgment Day. There's panic on the streets of London.
As an increasing number of reports of
serious attacks on
people who are literally being eaten alive.
A witness reports are sketchy. One unifying detail seems to be that the attackers in many instances appear to be... More reports just in have confirmed that in all cases the attackers seem slow and shambolic, and we've just...
I'm going to shut the front door.
All right, well, that was Shaun of the Dead celebrating his 20th anniversary. If you can still see it in a movie theater near you, coming back for his 20th anniversary re-release, then please go ahead and check it out. It is one of those classics that is from the era of like other movies like Hot Fuzz, which I thought was a better movie compared to Shaun of the Dead. But let's talk about a movie that is part of another franchise that has been long dead and now has come back to life. Beetlejuice. It's now squared up the third biggest opening of the year. I did not see that coming. I mean, people were projecting it to be a pretty big opening weekend, but it looks like it's gone well and above whatever people were expecting. And John and Angelina, I want to get your opinion on this. I think Angelina, you went and saw the movie, so let's start with you here. What are your thoughts on Beetlejuice? Did it live up to the hype, the expectations? Does it hit you with the nostalgia in all the right places, or was it overall a disappointment because it made over $100 million at the opening weekend? So clearly a lot of people liked it, but did you like it?
Yeah. It was a fun watch. It was definitely a good way to start, I guess, spooky season off right. It's September. It came out at like the perfect time. The first movie, I think, was so fitting because of the time that it came out. This movie feels somehow more dumb. But obviously Jenna Ortega is great. They do get a lot of things right. I think I read a lot of critic reviews that sort of sit along the same wavelength that I do. Like, there was a lot going on. I feel like there was definitely like a lot of different storylines that all get tied together pretty well, that keeps you sort of on, like, keeps you interested, but also it might have been just too many storylines. Like, writer has a weird boyfriend fiance. We learned that Beetlejuice murdered his ex-wife, and she's back from the dead. Like, there's just so many different moving parts that you're like, wait, what? And then Jenna Ortega's character, her dad dies, but they can never find him. It's just like a lot of moving parts, and you're like, whoa, okay. Is it a good, stupid chuckle laugh? Yeah, of course. It's a good, stupid chuckle laugh, and I think that's what you need to approach this movie as, and it definitely gets that right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that seems to be the consensus. While this isn't the highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes you're going to find, it is a film that certainly leans on the nostalgia elements, and it does a good job of delivering on a lot of people, you know, because the marketing itself was targeted at a lot of the people who loved this movie growing up. And while I'm not one of those people who loved this movie growing up, it has a huge following, and clearly when you look at the box office, that it scared up of 110 million at the domestic box office. It's great. That's a big number. That is the third biggest number of the year. Again, only behind Deadpool and Wolverine, and I believe Inside Out 2, both of which are billion-dollar films. So you got to imagine that, you know, bodes well for this movie. John, what are your thoughts on this film? Are you a fan of the franchise? Is the fact that it's making as much money as it is, and what Angelina just mentioned, is that making you any more interested in going to check it out, or are you still sort of on the fence about this?
I mean, I'll check it out, like, maybe later on this year, like if I want to watch some more movies to, like, pad out my list. But I haven't seen the first one. I'm probably going to watch it next month because I try to watch as many horror movies as I can. I try to watch, you know, and I'm like, yeah, you know what, since the movie just came out, let me, you know, watch the original. I've seen bits and pieces, and I thought it was fine. But I think it's one of those cases where it's like you have to, like, grow up with it to, like, really appreciate it. Like a lot of movies, so it's like I missed out on a lot of movies that I could have seen as a young lad, but just didn't for whatever reason. So I'll eventually watch it. I mean, I saw the trailers and it just didn't look good. Like, everyone's like, and it was a surprise because all my friends who are big Tim Burton fans watched this, loved it, and they're like, oh yeah, the effects look so good. I watched the trailer, I'm like, the effects look like complete fucking dog shit. I don't know.
Well, comparatively
maybe they
to
look
the first movie, and
maybe
also
they
I
look
think
better
that's
in
what
the
Tim Burton was
maybe they
going
look better
for.
in the movie, but like I remember seeing like the scene in the desert with the sandworm, and I'm like, this looks like
is purposefully, yes, it purposely looks like that. Like,
okay,
it's
so
supposed to
like
look
I'll
like
give it benefit of the
weird.
doubt if I want to see another. I still have a bunch of movies to catch up on, so
But I feel like Tim Burton is known for that. Like, what is I mean, Nightmare Before Christmas, it's like, it's great, right? But it has this sort of like, it's
well, that wasn't Tim Burton, that was Henry Selick.
Wait, did Tim Burton does
Tim Burton produced it, and I think he might have
there we go.
He didn't direct it.
co-wrote
He
the
didn't
script,
direct
but Henry
Okay,
Selick directed it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
a
Well, no,
it's
I
a
just
common
mean that
misconception. That's
typically, I feel like Tim Burton sort of has this ambiance of like things being sort of imaginative in the way they are
He's
represented.
got a very unique style. Like you can tell when you're watching a Tim Burton movie.
Yes.
Right? And Beetlejuice is very much a Tim Burton movie.
Yes.
It's also sitting at a respectable, I mean, it's certified fresh at this point with 267 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. 77% of the critics out of those 267 liked it. And even the audience says 82% is a pretty good score. It's not like overwhelmingly like 95%, but 82% with over 5,000 verified ratings is a really good number. So the critics are you know, looking at this and saying, hey, you know what, this might not be perfect, but it's pretty damn good. Do you guys feel like this movie has the legs now to kind of go beyond what it's already done at the box office? Because when you look at this opening weekend, like I mentioned earlier, $111 million domestic opening. It's already gone to a point where it's on the verge of recouping its budget by the second weekend. Deadpool Wolverine is still hanging out on the top 3, by the way. But Beetlejuice doesn't really have a ton of competition until the Joker Folie à Deux comes out, which is still a couple of weeks away. So do you feel like this has a chance to maybe go beyond, let's say, $500 million? Or do you feel like the second weekend you will see a huge drop, considering that even though a lot of the critics like it, a lot of the audiences like it, it's not one of those things where everybody's universally praising it. And it's also, like John said, a movie where unless you were a big fan of the first movie, it's not as likely that you're gonna walk into this and be like, oh my god, this was amazing. You kind of need a little bit of a primer from the first movie, even more so than the first Top Gun, would have given you for Top Gun Maverick, because I feel like Top Gun Maverick could almost stand by itself. And you won't get some of the references, but I feel like Beetlejuice, you need a little more of like what came before to understand what's going on here. So what are your thoughts on where this movie goes from here, considering the start that it's gotten off to?
I think it'll maybe keep a steady pace, nothing too crazy. I don't think it'll probably drop off, but not as not in a bad way. Just like, okay, most people saw it and they're cool with it and all that. So I think I could see it making a good amount of a good chunk of change, but I can't see it making huge amounts of money. But for the most part, people like it. Pretty much from what I've heard, everything is good except for the story. It's all over the place. But outside of that, it just I think it'll keep it'll drop, but be kind of steady for a bit.
Yeah, I do think that they chose a really good timing to do it, because it doesn't really have, as far as obviously we have the James McAvoy movie coming out, I believe, next week, but
it's in a couple of days actually, but yes, it's the next movie.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah. It's the next week. So I will say that Beetlejuice gives a sort of family-friendly Halloween view versus the James McAvoy movie is going to be pretty scary and not for all audiences. So I definitely think that it'll keep going. I think, again, they just chose a really an opportunistic time on the calendar with everything else. I'm sure they did that on purpose. And people will tune in. I mean, it's a sequel. You've got Monica Bellucci coming through on this, was wild. Was her character really underplayed? Yeah, she totally should have had more to do. But Michael Keaton is kind of fucking hilarious. I just don't even understand how he goes from playing just a normal ass man who played wasn't he the snowman? He was. What movie was that? It was one of my favorite movies as a kid growing up. And he plays
Jack Frost.
Jack Frost. He plays Frosty the Snowman. And in this, he's some wackadoo character that's just hilarious to watch.
Yeah.
You're just what the fuck?
Acting. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. By the way, from earlier, Jay Kelly mentioning Aaron Pierre will be Mufasa. That will be relevant.
Yes. Yes.
We're going to get into that shortly.
Aaron Pierre now.
Yeah, the obsession with Aaron Pierre continues coming up on the show. But, I mean, Beetlejuice, it's scared up $111 million at the domestic box office. Only $35 million from 69 markets abroad. So, and that has something to do with the fact that the first movie did not actually release in theaters abroad. So, people outside of the U.S. don't quite have the same nostalgia for this film like people in America. So it will probably struggle a little bit in that regard. Now it's gotten off to a great start. It's got good reviews. It's certified fresh and Rotten Tomatoes. We are seeing that the audiences are liking it just as much, or if not more, than even the critics are. So let us know in the comments. Did you guys like it? Did you go see it? Are you gonna see it again? Is this the kind of movie that you're gonna see multiple times? You're gonna bring your friends and family to it? And if you are, then let us know your thoughts. And you can hit the like and subscribe button.
That's what I was pointing to. It wasn't working very well. Sorry.
Our next movie review. We'll have more movie reviews each and every week, as we do all the time. So yeah, tap that notification bell so you know when we go live. But right now, guys, let's kind of switch gears here. Let's move on to DCU Daily, which I know a lot of you guys are here for. We already have some of you guys commenting in the chat. So the big news today from the world of DC is that Josh Brolin has chosen to pass on the role of Hal Jordan in the new DC Lantern series. So that's going to be on HBO, or if you have Max, you can stream it on Max. Is it one of those things where he's like big timing, or does he think that is not the right role for him? Maybe the pitch just didn't go over very well. Let's dive into it. Let's talk about it. Josh, we talked so much about this over the course of the last week or two, where it started with Josh Brolin is being considered. He's at the top of a short list. And then we were going to be in a holding pattern. Let's wait until we hear whether he... Because the whole thing was, it's been offered to him. Nobody says that he's been cast in the role. Now we know that he is passed on it. So I want to start with you, John. What are your thoughts on this? Because, of course, you are the resident DC expert. You know more about the Lanterns than probably any of us here. Right. What do you think about the idea of Josh Brolin passing out? Is he big timing us here? Is he like, nah, I'm too good for this shit? Or do you think this just wasn't the right opportunity? Was it money? What do you think caused him to pass on the role?
I think he's just like, you know what? I was in Jonah Hex. Fuck this shit. I'm not going back to DC. I think that was pretty much it. Kidding aside, I think maybe it's just something. Maybe after Thanos and Cable, he's just like, I don't want to do comic book movies for a while. The internet went into a meltdown for no reason. Yeah, that's almost like the internet on a daily basis for every single stupid thing that happens. Congratulations, you defined the internet. But yeah, I think he just saw this. Maybe he's just like, I don't want to be in like a big budget thing for now. I want to maybe commit to smaller projects. Maybe, you know, maybe that is the case. Maybe he's like, you know what? This is a TV show. I just got my TV show that I headlined just got canceled. I want to maybe go away from TV for a while, and maybe they weren't paying me enough on Outer Range. So fuck it. I'm gonna, you know,
I think he had a producer credit. I hope he was getting paid enough on that show. Come on.
You know, I want to say maybe it's the Denis Villeneuve effect, where he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep working with him. You know, Dune Messiah.
Okay,
kind of getting
like,
worked
where are you
on.
going with
So,
that? Okay.
Well, I mean, he was in Sicario. He was in the 2 Dune movies with Denis Villeneuve, and then I think he was in another one. I don't think he was in the second Sicario
I forgot he was
movie.
In Sicario was a Denis Villeneuve film. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, he's been in a bunch of those. He's like, I think I'm gonna stick working with him, and maybe he just doesn't want to do TV. There's a whole bunch of reasons. Maybe Josh Brolin did say, it was like, you know what, I'm worth way fucking more than these assholes are paying me for, so screw that. Or maybe he's just like, oh, Tom King, nah, fuck that shit. Damon Lindelof, get that. Nope. This is another Jonah Hex situation, and I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. Hell nah. I'm gonna fucking do what I'm not doing this shit. So it could have been a whole number of reasons. It was one of those cases where I would have been fine if he agreed, but I wouldn't. But I'm not like upset that he didn't. I was kind of indifferent on Josh Brolin. I'm like, he would probably do a good job, but I think there are other much better actors, especially the vast majority of that short list that was released would have been better than Josh Brolin. I believe from the reports, either Matthew McConaughey or Chris Pine were next in line. We'll see if that happens. Again,
All right.
I believe Matthew McConaughey is probably the closest I would get to being upset, because the more I think about it, the more I think he would just be not right for the role. I just don't think
he would do it.
They did pitch this as a true
detective.
I
really do not think he would do it.
I don't think he would do it either, but like, you know, maybe they'll give him the right pitch, the right amount of money, and he'll be like, all right, let's
but
DC.
he's never played like a fucking comic book character. All of his characters.
He almost did. He was gonna play Ego, but he couldn't accept it due to scheduling conflicts. So I could have imagined that he probably would have done it if it wasn't for.
Oh my god! Imagine if he
was gonna. He never did. You see what I mean?
But I'm just saying he didn't deny it because he said no. I'm saying he denied it because he had to, because he had another project in the works. So, you know.
Could it be that Sicario 3 is what's holding him back, and he's like, I want to focus on that, not enter this franchise?
Possibly.
I mean, Jay Kelly seems to think Matthew McConaughey would be fantastic. I personally think Matthew McConaughey, you can't really go wrong. But actually, that's a good point from Antonio. This is a report in the Hollywood Reporter. They're the ones who broke this story exclusively, and I believe if you read into this, Matthew McConaughey might have already said no.
Yeah.
So
Sicario Capos sequel to Day of the Soldado, which was the second movie, is in development. Josh Brolin was in the second movie. I couldn't remember if he was or wasn't.
Yeah,
he was. So maybe he's doing that and he's sticking with that, even though Denis Villeneuve did not direct the second movie. So maybe he just wants to stick with that. So
yeah, and I think Antonio Baker, you pointed it out correctly, and I have it on the article here. According to this article, which says according to sources, Matthew McConaughey has also sort of said no. Now, what sources, how true or untrue that is? I mean, ultimately, they've pitched this show as this is a True Detective-esque show for the world of DC, and Matthew McConaughey was in True Detective, so it would make sense. He would kind of fit right in because
now, Woody Harrelson as Hal Jordan would be an interesting choice.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, the guy wears wigs for half of his roles. Just whatever. Just he doesn't need that. Like, why not? Like, just bring him in. I think Woody Harrelson would be perfect.
He wouldn't.
Jay Kelly, by the way, asking because I think the Watcher loves the idea of Chris Pine, but Jay Kelly's like, didn't Chris Pine say he was sort of done with these big budget movies? He's been doing all these indie films of late. Do you think Chris Pine could be a good fit? Do you even think he's interested in the role?
I mean, eventually Chris Pine is going to get lured back in by the money, I'm sure.
Yeah,
maybe.
Like, you can do indie movies all you want to like redeem your career, but
because didn't his last movie wasn't his last movie like The Pool Boy and that fucking sucked or something? Or like
you
last
can't hit with all of them.
Pool Man. So out of the 3 movies he was in last year, which was Dungeons and Dragons, which was fine, Pool Man, which I heard was he also directed that, and that was terrible from what I heard, and then Wish, which was very bad.
I didn't see
what I heard.
And then the year before that was Don't Worry, Darling, with all the bullshit for that.
Oof.
Yeah.
So yeah, he might be. He might come drapes and back for that money, but
So let's just, since we are talking about Josh Brolin passing on the role, whether it's to focus on the third Dune movie, whether it's to focus on the third Sicario movie, whether he's developing another TV show that he can produce like the one that he had on Amazon Prime. What was the name of that? Outer Edge, was it? Or Outer Range? Outer Range. Since we have been talking about the other A-listers on the short list, if Matthew McConaughey has said no, and if Chris Pine is like, I'm too indie for this now, despite the fact that he may or may not be coming back in the Star Trek franchise, who else can be pitched for the role of Hal Jordan?
Timothy fucking Oliphant.
I'm not the person to ask about that. I'm just not. I'm not me.
And Gina, do you see anybody, like, you look at this character, and as the average fan, who do you see potentially being a good fit for the role? He's meant to be this legendary Lantern who's been around for a decade or so. He's done the heavy lifting. He's now basically passing on the torch to a younger Jon Stewart. Think of it like a Men in Black sort of a situation with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. Do you think
I do kind of think of, who did we talk about? Fergie's ex-husband. I always forget him. He was in his name. He was in Vegas, that Vegas show Forever that I loved growing up. That guy. Everybody's
Josh
like,
Duhamel?
Yeah,
Josh
there you
Duhamel.
go.
Okay,
Josh Duhamel would be a good Hal Jordan.
Yeah,
not gonna lie, he would.
I think he'd be a good fit. Just based on
I always
the
saw
way
him
he
for
looks.
Captain Adam, but I think Josh Duhamel. He was in Jupiter's Legacy, where he played the head, like, kind of Superman parallel in that show.
Y'all
The
kind of both
Utopian.
gave me the head tilt like my dog.
Because I was like, Fergie's ex, like, that's how you remember Josh Duhamel. Like, I know Josh Duhamel isn't like the greatest.
I remember
like,
him from
thing
that
ever,
Vegas
but, like,
show. What was the show?
no fucking clue.
Yeah, it was this. He was like this hotel security guy for this show in Vegas. Yeah, that was like how I learned about him. I have to find the name of the show, but that's like one of the shows that made him famous, like way before this. way before this.
I mean, the guy's been doing so many different things of late, but I still remember him from those Transformers movies. He did that rom-com with J-Lo, so
Ew, J-Lo.
Yeah, I mean,
the show was literally called Las Vegas, y'all. It aired in 2003.
Never fucking heard of it before now.
It aired in 2003.
What is that wig though? What the hell is that wig?
It ran until 2008, and that's actually what made him famous, like pretty wide known famous. It even had James Caan in it. It had Nikki Cox, James Lesser, Vanessa Marcil. It was a big show.
Never heard of it.
It came out around the same time as Prison Break.
I'd have to go look for it. I mean, it seems very interesting.
I like that show.
He's got the look. He's got the body. He's got the.
Well, in this, he's got a toupee.
Obviously.
Yes.
And a bad spray tan too.
What was that show called? Was it Jupiter Rising or whatever?
Yeah, Jupiter's Legacy. That I just mentioned that. Yeah. How he played the Utopian, which was kind of like a Superman parallel, but like he like still aged in real time, but he was just like super jacked, so he had to wear like a old man wig and like he had to look like an old guy, even though he had like amazing power. But yeah, I liked that show. I thought that was a good show. It was a shame that it ended, but yeah, see, there he is. And so like he played a superhero before, so he has some of the pedigree, I guess, of playing a superhero. So I wouldn't mind seeing him as Hal Jordan, but I don't think he's on the list, and I don't think he's famous enough because I think they want someone who's really famous. Mm-hmm. They want an A-lister and then an unknown. I think that's who they're really aiming for. And Josh Duhamel isn't super famous. I mean, you couldn't even remember his name. You just remembered him as the guy from Las Vegas. And Fergie's ex-husband. So, I think they want someone a little bit more.
Like I feel like that's pretty fair.
But I think he would do a good job. I think he would be a really great Captain Atom because Captain Atom's more of like a stoic kind of like hardened character. Like he had like a lot of like tragedy happen to him. I think Josh Duhamel's very good as like very stoic kind of characters. He was here.
I would kill myself.
Tom Cruise is just too old now. I think Tom Cruise would have been perfect in like the 80s or 90s, but I think he's just a little bit too old now. But I think
but he can pull off somebody in his 50s, right? Like
but
he's also got to deal with
he
Warner
has
Brothers
his
now,
own franchise that he's headlining. He doesn't want to be on a fucking tiny little fucking TV series. And he's like, fuck that. I got Mission Impossible 8 to worry about.
Yeah, he's never gonna. There's no way.
Yeah, Mark Millar, who is hit and miss, but I heard Jupiter's Legacy was very good. So, that's how it is. But yeah, I think he would be good. Timothy Olyphant, please. Timothy Olyphant, please. Ewan McGregor, I can see, but like not totally.
He's too old too.
The man looks fucking exceptional for his age, though. He looks like he's in his early 40s. Like,
I can totally see Timothy Olyphant. Absolutely. 10 out of 10. Yeah.
I think
absolutely.
Ewan McGregor is a very good actor, and even though he's done like bad and good before, I just think like I look at his face, I don't see Hal Jordan. Like he's just has too nice of a face. Like I just think,
but
he's just Obi-Wan now. He's just Obi-Wan. So he's just
chilling. I kind of feel like he's too famous to do it.
I don't think so. I don't think he's too famous, but
I just think McGregor was so big in like the early 2000s. He's so famous. He's Moulin Rouge. He's done a million movies with fucking Nicole Kidman. Like you see him as Obi-Wan, but I see him in like 8 other movies. Like I think it would just be so hard for me to unsee him as those characters for something like this.
I'm looking at this because I think of the Kenobi show, and I'm like, who would be a really good Hal Jordan? Joel Edgerton. I think Joel Edgerton would be a really great Hal Jordan.
That could be a good pick.
Yeah, because it seems like they're going for more hardened, grizzled sort of Hal Jordan. Joel Edgerton would do that very well. And Ted Cord, I could see Ewan McGregor as Ted Cord way more than Hal Jordan. He would be a great Ted Cord. I think, although I would also say Jason Sudeikis would be a really good Ted Cord too. But So yeah, I think there's a lot of good actors in terms of the shortlist. I want Timothy Olyphant. I want Chris Pine. In terms of the ones that are left that were on the alleged shortlist, I would want those two guys the most. Ewan McGregor, I wouldn't hate it. I would just be like, okay, prove to me that you can be Hal Jordan. Do it. But I just feel like I don't see, like, because they're going for hardened, grizzled Hal Jordan. I just don't see Ewan McGregor. He's just a little silly,
Well, even as Obi-Wan,
little silly boy, and
like a sweet.
But Timothy Olyphant just can nail every aspect.
Sweet man.
Jordan, even if the more grizzled version. I mean, he was
what
in
was the last thing we saw Timothy Olyphant in? I can't even remember.
He's in Justified. He's in. He was in
Mandalorian.
Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, he's doing good for himself. I've heard Justified is very good. My parents watch it. They say
Justified is great. It's a whole franchise. I don't
there's
know
like
if
17 different shows.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's one of the most underrated franchises. It's also Timothy Olyphant. While he might be probably the least A-lister, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if that's proper grammar, but he's the least A-lister of the A-listers in that short list. But I mean, if Chris Pine is doing indie films, if Matthew McConaughey is saying, well, I'm not doing this today, and if Josh Brolin's like, this is not the right fit, you really, between Ewan McGregor and Timothy Olyphant, I think Timothy Olyphant is probably the better of the two picks. I personally just don't see if they're really going for an A-lister, if he is the one to go.
That's
they could probably shoot a little bit higher. And then again, that's kind of hard. It's unfair to say, oh yeah, just because he's not popular enough, because I don't think that's what should decide who you cast in the role. I mean, when they cast Ben Affleck for Batman in the DCEU, they cast him because he was an A-lister, because they wanted an A-lister Batman to go, next to a lesser-known Gal Gadot and Henry Cavill, even at that point, in the roles of Wonder Woman and Superman, respectively. But Ben Affleck still was a good pick. Like the dude really did his work to not only physically build himself up, but also to understand the psyche of the character, to the point where for a lot of people, Ben Affleck is now their favorite Bruce Wayne. Maybe not their favorite Batman, but their favorite Bruce Wayne. And certainly one of the best on-screen fight sequences from BVS, when he rescues Martha. I think that's probably
just
one of
that
the best
one
Batman
scene is like, okay, yeah. Even I got to admit, he's pretty fucking excellent.
Yeah, like so what I'm trying to say is, like, you want to go for an A-lister, but you can still balance it out with getting an actor who's a good fit for this. Antonio saying Jason Sudeikis would be a good Blue Beetle. I mean,
I think he would be. I think he would be a great.
It would be, but just like his voice was not the one we heard at the end of Blue Beetle.
It was some random uncredited guy.
Yeah,
and it's a different universe. They can fucking retcon it. So who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's exactly like it's the most retconnable thing from that movie. But
it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. By the way, guys, if you are watching and you haven't already, please hit that like button. Hit that like button if you haven't already, and then hit the subscribe button as well, because this way, when we have a new show going up. We are live Monday through Friday with a new episode of DCU Daily each and every day. We still have lots to talk about, guys. Green Lantern, of course, Josh Brolin has now passed on the role, and the HBO series will continue on casting.
Joel Edgerton is almost 6 feet tall. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know if
he's the height of. What are you talking? He's almost as tall as Hugh Jackman.
Exactly. I think most people assume that he isn't.
Anyway, sorry.
Hunter Iggy's asking, do you think Chris Pine will get Hal Jordan? Hunter, you might be a little bit late to the chat, but we did talk about it earlier. I don't think Chris Pine will get it unless.
Yes.
I mean, he would be a good fit, but it's up to him. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it would really depend on, whether he wants it or not, because he seems to want to do a lot of indie movies nowadays. But with that said, guys, let us know in the comments, as you have been. If you're in the live chat, drop your comments down below, or get in the comments section and let us know who you would like to have play Hal Jordan, now that we know it's no longer Josh Brolin, because he was like, I've done this comic book movie thing often enough. I think I'm good. So Josh Brolin is no longer going to be in consideration for Hal Jordan in the new DC Lantern series. But who is? Who would you like to see? Matthew McConaughey, according to sources, is also off the list. So bummer there. But, Chris Pine was also on the list, Ewan McGregor, and Timothy Olyphant. So we had a list of 5. If you knock out the 2, there's still 3 available. And then, of course, there could be other wild cards who we are not aware of. So let us know in the comments who you'd like to see there. But right now, let's move on from DCU Daily, which we'll have another episode of tomorrow, the day after, and the day after, to MCU Weekly. So MCU Weekly, let's talk about how the MCU has been looking to get this next Spider-Man movie off the ground. The 4th Spider-Man movie, the last one, made almost $2 billion. He's the highest grossing comic book character of all time. Period. There's no other character gets close, guys. So Spider-Man 4 is going to be the start of a new trilogy. Now Peter Parker is going to college, and none of his friends and family remember him. I don't even know if he has any family left at this point. And of course, Tony Stark is no longer around. Happy doesn't know he exists. And none of the Avengers remember him other than the fact that they worked with a Spider-Man at one point. So this new Peter Parker, Tom Holland, coming back in the role, it looks like, according to a new report, that the director of Shang-Chi, Destin Daniel Cretton, who had been reportedly working on developing a Shang-Chi sequel, is now going to be signing up to come on board Spider-Man 4. What are your thoughts on this? Because this is going to be obviously a big deal, because if you look at the quality of the action, just the storytelling itself, Destin Daniel Cretton did a fantastic job with the Shang-Chi film. And Simu Liu just, sings his praises all the time. He's been working on a couple of other projects over at Marvel as well, but now coming on board for Spider-Man 4 after John Watts sort of he directed the first 3 movies, and now he's saying, John Watts is like, I've done those big comic book films, now I'm going to do my own thing. So they bring in somebody who, who's already in the house of Marvel. John, what do you think about Destin, joining as a director? Now, of course, this is not 100% confirmed. Just letting you know, he's pretty much there, but he's not quite 100% signed on. But if he was to direct this new Spider-Man movie, which is now going into development, do you think that bodes well for our franchise that, quite frankly, has some really high expectations now? The last movie made $1.8 billion. Do you think he can live up to that, the legacy of the Tom Holland trilogy of movies that has come before?
I'm dead.
That's great. Is that all you have to say, John?
Pretty much. Like, I mean, he worked on one semi-decent Marvel movie that nobody fucking remembers, even though it only came out like 4 years ago. So, like, all right. I mean, he executively produced what was it, the Tokyo Vice, even though that got canceled. I heard that was good.
Oh god, that show
it had a
was so
few
good.
seasons.
I was so sad that
It was a
got
good show.
canceled.
Yeah,
but they also kind of tied it up. Like, they tied up the storyline, so it kind of made sense that they canceled it when they canceled it.
Yeah.
I think it also just cost a lot of money to make.
He directed like a bunch of other like smaller indie stuff that I've never heard of. Then he did Shang-Chi, which was a fine movie. It was like it's like whatever.
It was
every
kind of like
other,
the bare minimum. It was kind of.
It was like every other Marvel, unoffensive, sanitized, non-memorable.
It had like
blockbuster
it
blah.
definitely followed like a Marvel algorithm of like joke, funny, fight, joke,
Yeah,
funny.
they took every Marvel trope and then like.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was
like
it
Hong
was very cut
Kong
and paste.
Chinese action movies that are actually really good, stuck it into a blender, and then that's what.
But isn't that what Marvel does though? They take a genre that you're familiar with, blend it into their world. But that's I mean, and is that not enough? I mean, it's not. But look, all things considered, I genuinely
like it's kind of whatever.
Like I genuinely enjoyed Shang-Chi as one of the best
in terms of
into the current
MCU directors directing Spider-Man movies. Why don't you got Sam Raimi under your belt? Why didn't you just fucking bring him back? Like he was almost gonna do a Spider-Man 4. Why not bring him back to do it? Because he actually knows.
Dude, you know why? You know why? Because if they do that, then everybody's gonna be like, okay, fire Tom Holland now, bring back Toby, and then Sam Raimi would.
Bring back Kirsten, and then it'll actually be a good Spider-Man movie. There you go.
Because I'm just saying, like, you do that, and then Sam Raimi is probably gonna like agree with somebody on the internet or in an interview doing that, and then all of a sudden Kevin Feige will have a PR crisis on his hands. But anyway, Angelina, what do you think? What do you think about this? The news that Destin Daniel Cretton, who's again, he's already done something with Marvel. He's been developing, I believe, a TV show at Marvel as well. So there was already questions about like when are we getting a Shang-Chi sequel, but now that he's tied to the Spider-Man 4, clearly that means that other project has to go on the back burner for a while. What
I
are your
don't
thoughts on
know.
him
I
as a
think
director?
ultimately, okay, so my ultimate like largest issue here is that Marvel needed to make changes in their sort of Marvel algorithm, right? Because they had gotten so copy paste that we were getting the superhero fatigue, and it didn't feel like any of the stories were new. It didn't feel like they were nuanced. It got fucking boring. Obviously, the last several Marvel movies didn't do as well as they wanted to. Of course, the Spider-Man movies have been great thus far. Tom Holland and Zendaya make a great team. Obviously, they're together now. And, you know, I think Tom Holland makes for a great Spider-Man. I think that this is a terrible move, because why the fuck would you take a director of one of the most copy-paste kind of meh ass Marvel movies and let him direct a Spider-Man movie? Like, I don't get it. Like,
that's what they kind of did with John Watts. He directed like two or three like indie movies, and they're like, yeah, this guy's perfect for a Spider-Man movie. Give it to him.
I think I would prefer that over you taking a director who's already had a chance of doing a Marvel movie and he really didn't bring anything new to it. It was like, I like Shang-Chi because I like the actor, but it was just kind of whatever. Like, I don't see it.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, and it's also on top of the fact that like Sony is pushing more multiverse stuff with Spider-Man, so that's probably what Spider-Man, instead of being like a grounded movie about Spider-Man being Spider-Man and just being your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and just like fighting villains on the ground, it's like, no, we got to do multiverse shit. We got to do big epic. It's like, that's not what Spider-Man is. Like, I just want to see him be fucking miserable and fight guys in bird outfits. It's like, is that fucking too much to ask? Like, that's all we want. That's all we've ever wanted.
That's all we wanted is a miserable Spider-Man fighting Birdmen. Is that what you just said?
I mean, that's what Vulture was essentially. So,
oh my God.
You know, it's just like, just have him fight, you know, like, I don't know, Scorpion or something like that. I don't know, just Scorpion, Sandman, or somebody who hasn't gotten a chance to be on the big screen. Just just have him just on the ground, like fighting random dudes and fucking silly outfits. That's like what Spider-Man is. And Tom Holland finally proved in the last movie he can be a good Spider-Man. But now, you know, now they're just doing more like dumb shit with this. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm still, depending on what it is, I'm still probably going to see it. But like at this point, just like, I think I'm just like, Marvel cannot fucking get this. The MCU, Disney cannot fucking get this character right. So I'm just kind of over it at this point. I'm probably not even going to see Spider-Man 4 if this is the case, because I feel like they're just going to fucking... They had a great setup. They had the most amazing setup to give us another trilogy of just, you know, Tom Holland being your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and they're going to fuck it up. I know they're going to fuck it up because it's like in their contract. It's in like destiny that Disney fucks up everything they touch now. And that's what I feel like that's what it's going to be. So... I mean, you know what?
Disney has, between Deadpool, Wolverine, and Inside Out 2, made $3 billion over the last couple of months at the box office. They're the highest grossing movie studios. I think the demise of Disney is greatly exaggerated. As much as I'm not the biggest fan of the current phase of movies, but I think Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings and Spider-Man No Way Home were two of the standouts. So, you know, if you're bringing in the director of one and pairing him up with the actor from the other, and you're getting the character that is still, I mean, you know, as much as I love Batman, I think I have to admit that Spider-Man is the most popular, you know, comic book character in the world. Even to this day, people have been clamoring for when is Spider-Man 4 going to happen. You know, you can't put the two talents together and, you know, I mean, it's kind of like saying, oh yeah, the Russo brothers are coming back, RDJ is coming back, but Doomsday is not going to make $1 billion. I think Avengers Doomsday is going to make $1 billion. How good of a movie it's going to be is another question. But with that said, John, I did want to ask you this one other follow-up. Now, this does have an effect, a knock-on effect on the Shang-Chi sequel. Now, Tom Holland recently said that, hey, he's watched the Shang-Chi movie and he thinks that it's effing awesome in his own words. And Simu Liu has been basically looking for any hint just himself. I don't know if Kevin Feige's given him any hints because he seems to show his algorithm on social media seems to recommend every Shang-Chi report and post to him, and he reposts it, hoping that there's a sequel in the works. The first Shang-Chi movie has now been like 3 years ago that it came out. Do you think with Destin Daniel Craig attached to Spider-Man 4 that we're not really gonna get a Shang-Chi 2 for, I don't know, like another 5 years? That's a big gap, like almost like a 7-year gap between two movies. Like, should we be worried about that movie? Do you think they have another director in mind for that? What do you
I
think?
feel like if they're gonna do it in the next I feel like if they're gonna do it, they need to do it in like the next 2 years, or it just becomes too long.
Yeah. I mean,
it just becomes too long unless they do like a massive sort of time jump. You just have to worry about like life, right? That man has aged 7 years. If they wait another 7 years, I would just come in with a new director. Like, honestly, it's been a long enough gap that nobody's going to need that for the continuity. I would just get another director.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of other directors out there. If you're looking for like, somebody who knows how to direct great action, you can bring in. There's plenty of other, David Leitch, or who's the guy, Tim Miller. There's plenty of other directors out there who can take that on. I for one really enjoyed. I think the first Shang-Chi had all the best elements of like what makes a good superhero movie, but also the movie was just incredibly grounded and just in a way that most Marvel movies for some reason aren't, in this element of family.
Brother never told you never threaten a man's family?
That was a very terrible segue. You've had better ones than that. Like, you weren't even trying.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to keep this train on the track. But Ray J has a good comment here. He thinks that Shang-Chi's gonna appear in another project. If Shang-Chi were to appear in another project, do you feel like that's gonna be another solo movie?
They're gonna shoehorn him into Spider-Man 4 because they have the same director. How much you want to fucking bet that's gonna happen? It's like, hey, I'm Shang-Chi, and then they're like, who? Who are you? So I mean, it's just weird, like how Disney Marvel has kind of a weird obsession with this guy, Disney, blah blah blah, whatever his name is. I already forgot his name.
Destin Daniel Cretton.
That guy. So it seems like, because he was like on the track to like direct the next two Avengers movies as well. Like he had Shang-Chi 2, the next two directors, the next two Avengers movies. And I think he's doing Wonder Man. It's like, clearly Marvel has some sort of weird obsession with this fucking fool. I can't discern why, because it's not like he fucking directed like the greatest fucking Marvel movie of all time. He directed Shang-Chi. It's like, nobody fucking even remembers that movie. Nobody remembers his character. It's like,
you'd be surprised, dude. It was, of all those pandemic era Marvel movies, it was the best of the bunch. Like, Shang-Chi was clearly the standout, and it made more money than most movies in that era did. And there's an audience for it. So, I mean, if you're a Marvel fan, and certainly it righted a lot of wrongs in a lot of MCU fans' eyes for what they did with the character. Who's played by what is his face? The Mandarin, right? Like they kind of corrected that mistake with Mandarin. They were like, we're gonna do it right. We're gonna do Mandarin right. So. Yeah, and then The Watcher saying many scoopers have been saying this film will be mostly street level, but with some multiversal elements. I hope street level is where they keep it. The Spider-Man movie, that is. Shang-Chi 2, I don't know what that's going to be about. And that will probably depend on whether it comes out, like The Watcher suggested, after Secret Wars or before Secret Wars. But yeah, I mean, Ray J loves the idea of having potentially Shang-Chi show up in a Spider-Man movie. Do you guys remember... Okay, The Watcher's like Shang-Chi teaches Spider-Man martial arts in the comics. That is, hey, you know what? That could be a perfect.
Yeah, that's what.
That could work.
Spider-Man needs to learn.
Right. But do you guys remember a while ago when the first Shang-Chi movie it came out? People were wondering, and then when we're gonna next see Simu Liu in the MCU, and essentially he mentioned like he might show up in other movies, but we have had what, like half a dozen movies come out since, a ton of TV shows, and he's yet to
Nothing.
make a single appearance anywhere else.
Nothing.
Even with that post-credit scene where it seemed like, you know, it was his "you're part of a bigger world, Mr. Stark" or something like that moment. Like when Bruce Banner shows up and he's like, "Your bracelet is," and then we thought he was going to be in Quantumania because like the bracelets sort of match. Maybe they were going to tie him up with, you know, Miss Marvel, but like none of that has come to pass. Does it make sense to even be in Spider-Man 4, or do you feel like there's another project that is in the works leading up to, you know, Doomsday and Secret Wars where he could fit in? Does anything come to mind?
Not really. Maybe it's another Cretin project. Maybe it's not. If they have like something martial arts related, I can maybe see it, but outside of that, I can't. I don't really see anything for this character because he wasn't that big of a character. He kind of came out the wrong time. Nobody really remembers Shang-Chi that much. I mean, sure, it has its fans, but like, it's not one of those like, oh yeah, best. It's not one of those things that's like really remembered. Not like it's not remembered fondly. It's still like kind of remembered. Just,
like I feel like that's
Guardians
not giving
3.
enough sort of homage to the representation of the Asian community. I feel like that was a huge draw for this movie. I think having that representation not only in a Marvel character but in a comic book, in the director leading it, I think it in a way really sort of was timely because people have been pushing for those characters to come out for a long time. So I disagree with you there. Like, I don't think that you were saying overall, like, nobody remembers the character. It's like, no. I mean, to like the Asian American kids, they were fucking thrilled. Do you know what I mean? They were like, hallelujah. So I think with that being said, you just have to sort of think about the fact that as far as the comic books go, a lot of them are, most of them, I would say about 60% of them, little white men. And for equal opportunity representation, I think it means a lot when they do these comics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that sense, I do think it deserves a sequel. Do I think it needs the same fucking director? No, because I don't think he did anything with it. But I did overall really love that actor, and I think the storyline was fun. I think the martial arts was fucking cool. Do I feel like it needs like a fresh spin on it to bring it fully into the Marvel universe? Yeah, like as one of the best Marvels.
And it's just like, I'll just go and watch like Police Story because it's way fucking better and it does the same kind of shit. Or like Kung Fu Hustle or something like that. I'm like, yeah, these are
Hustle.
Hell yeah.
I just think John is not a fan of the movie because Aquafina is in it.
Yeah,
I mean that
really
also doesn't help matters either. That's also
doesn't really
because
okay, well that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor here. Just let us know in the comments, guys, what you think about Destin Daniel Cretton coming on to direct Spider-Man 4 for the MCU. Tom Holland is coming back. Will we get to see Shang-Chi come in? Of course, you know, Destin directed Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings. What does this mean for the sequel to a Shang-Chi movie? Let us know in the comments what you think. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. As always, if you haven't already, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live with another show. We are here each and every week with new movie reviews and, of course, MCU Weekly. But as we do before we finish off a show, the Also Curious show especially, we look ahead to the movies coming out the following week. So it's only a couple of days away. We do have this new movie called The Killer's Game coming out, and I just want to quickly talk about this, and then we also have Speak No Evil. So guys, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. The Killer's Game. It's a movie that you either have heard about or you have no idea what it's about. But I'm gonna just let you know it's got Batista in it. It's got Sofia Boutella.
It's got the chick from Rebel Moon.
Yes, and then also with the Star Trek Beyond, she's in a number of projects. She's a great dancer.
She was in Kingsman.
She was in that. I don't know how great of an actor she is. I mean, she does everything, the physicality parts of it well, but and it's also got Palm Clemente. Like, this movie has quite the stacked cast, but it feels to me like a generic, action.
Yeah, it seems just kind of a cliched fun time. Like,
yeah.
Like it's kind of like, the typical, the thing, the agency he works for is now after him, but with a slightly different twist, where it's like, because the whole basis of this movie, I saw a trailer for it. It doesn't look too bad. where it's like he thinks he's dying of cancer, so he's like, all right, I'm gonna go out in a blaze of glory. So he calls for a hit out on himself. And so, like, all these trained killers are trying to kill him, and he's like fighting them off, but he's like not caring. And then he gets a call. He's like, "Oh, you're actually not dying of cancer. It was actually like a fuck up." And he's like, "Can you call this shit off?" And they're like, "Hell no." So he's like, "What do I do now?" So now he has to survive because now he has like a new lease on life because he's not going to die soon. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of like a cool twist to the whole your agency is coming after you kind of thing that's been done to death. So it's like, all right. That it looks fun. Like at the very least, it looks like a fun time.
Gonna slap. I mean, I immediately say Dave Bautista, and I just can't take the movie seriously. Like I just know it's gonna be kind of a joke.
Hey, Dave Bautista is a very, very underrated actor. The dude recently lost like 100 pounds. I mean, so he doesn't get typecasted, and I mean, the dude is doing everything in his power to, you know, up his acting game.
This whole cast is giving funny. They do not take themselves seriously. Like this whole cast, put them all together. Yeah. It's giving. This is going to be a fun time in the movie theater. Do not.
Yeah, it's going to be like another Stuber or something like that. You know?
Yeah, just do not expect too much from this movie.
Yeah,
and
I mean, like Terry Crews looks like he's having so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Palm Clemente, you know, again, you've got some fantastic actors, and Bautista is a great actor. I would love to give him a shot.
He's definitely one of the best wrestler turned actors.
I think he's probably the best wrestler.
He's probably the best
out of the bunch. Yeah, but guys, there's not only just one movie coming out this week. There is also on the horror side, Speak No Evil, which is a Hollywood remake of a Danish original, like, you know, thriller, and it's got, of course, James McAvoy, who looks
Mackenzie
as jacked
Davis
as ever for this movie. Mackenzie Davis.
He did that movie with Keira Knightley years ago, and
Atonement.
Yes, Atonement. I fell in love with him in that movie, and basically ever since he's just played one creepy character after a fucking another. I don't know if he gets typecast.
You know, Professor X would like to say hello.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah. Excluding that, he was in Split. Obviously, he plays like this psycho in Split. And I feel like basically, other than Professor X, he has repeatedly played like these really creepy characters. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you? Are you okay?
Maybe it's just fun for him. And maybe like after this, maybe he'll learn to like, because the man is like a chameleon. Like he has the range to do a lot of different things. And I will agree that he is a little bit
a phenomenal actor. He's incredible.
He is one of the most underrated actors.
Yeah.
He's like, he kind of reminds me of like Gary Oldman, where he just like, you don't see Gary Oldman whenever he's playing somebody. Like you just see the character. That's what James McAvoy is. Like you just see the character. So I have no real interest in this movie. Like the fucking trailers have been playing non-fucking stop, and it's just like kind of aggravating. And then it's just like American remake of a foreign horror movie. It's like I thought we were done with this after like the 12 other like J horror or K horror movies fucking flopped. Like we got like Ringu, Grudge, like all these other movies, Pulse, and I think there was another one that I'm misremembering, but there was like a bunch of them, and I thought we were done with like American remakes of like foreign movies that like misunderstand the
Grudge was fucking creepy. What do you mean?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not saying they're like bad. It's just like I feel like this was a phase back in like the 2000s, and I thought this was dead. And then when I learned that this was a remake, I'm like, now I really have no interest, even though I love James McAvoy.
I mean, but you gotta remember,
I watched
like,
this
there's
trailer.
Been good examples
I'm like, oh, I
remakes
know the
in
entire
past.
movie now. I know
I'm excited.
It looks very predictable. I'm just gonna watch the.
I'm gonna go
original.
see it.
I'm
excited.
I'm probably just gonna watch
Oh
the
no,
original.
that
It's gonna
film's
be better
freaking
anyway.
out. Honestly, a lot of Euro films are just like so unnerving. Like that's how I feel about German film. I'm just like, oh god. French film is always like weirdly like I don't know. I honestly I'm kind of a snoot when it comes to it. I prefer Hollywood movies. I do. I feel like I just get it more. I just can't. I don't know. Like I enjoy like
It's fine.
Japanese
It's just
film. I
Guys.
enjoy like Japanese film. But for some reason, people in Europe are just fucking weird, man.
They are.
Their comedy is weird.
That's what I love about it. Like, I love
like,
the giallo. Like I love it. Like Dario Argento or Mario Bava or Lucio Fulci. I love those guys. They are kings of that kind of thing. So.
Films, and I'm just like, okay, I give up on humanity. Thanks, thank you. So I feel about it. So I prefer usually the American retakes on things. I do. I sure do. I've tried it. I've tried it all. I love anime. I love Japanese anime.
Yeah.
I like Japanese film overall, but I don't know. Some fucking Germany, French, they're just weird. The Dutch, strange. That's how I feel.
Well, this movie is American. You got Scoot McNairy in there as well, of course, and we have seen several good, American remakes, Hollywood remakes of foreign movies. A Man Called Otto was recently Tom Hanks.
Like The Grudge.
The Departed, was a remake of Infernal Affairs that won an Oscar for Martin Scorsese. So there's been plenty of examples of ones where they get it right. I mean, and you know James McAvoy, when he commits to a role, he commits to a role.
Oh, yeah.
So he doesn't, like you said, he sinks into the role. You don't recognize him, like the actor, you're just seeing him, the character. So I think there's a lot to see here. And whether you're interested in watching a horror movie or if you want to go and watch, a Killer's Game or The Killer's Game, which is
I'll probably watch The Killer's Game.
Standard.
I'll be watching Speak No Evil. Have no fear.
Which is funny because I'm the horror guy, but like I just have no interest.
Horror movies.
Switch it up. I get it.
Movies. Yeah.
But yeah, I love Dave Bautista. I'll support my boy. He looks good. He looks good now after losing all that fucking muscle weight. Like, goddamn. I wish the best for him.
He could probably put it back on if he needed to. I mean, the guy, of course, has he's been doing that all his stuff. Now, we're gonna be back next week. We're gonna review both movies, The Killer's Game. We're gonna review Speak No Evil. We're gonna go through all the latest days DC news. We're gonna go into the MCU as well, and of course, any other news from the world of Hollywood, however wacky or otherwise it is. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks, Angelina. Thanks, John. Thank you, The Watcher, RayJ365. We had Fiona in the chat. We had Miraculous in the chat. We had Morkatna, Antonio Baker, Hunter Iggy popped in for a bit, Jay Kelly, for everybody. And whoever I missed, I apologize if I missed your name, but thank you. Buster Barnes was in earlier as well. Thank you, everyone, for watching. As always, this is the Oh So Curious show with DCU Daily, but tomorrow we have an episode of DCU Daily coming out. We're going to be going through the latest news from the world of DC, whether it's Joker Folie à Deux, the Penguin, anything new from the world of Superman. Maybe we'll find out who is now in contention for the Lanterns roles, whether it's Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart. And of course, on Thursday, John and Bridget are back with DCU Daily reviewing the season finale of Kite Man Hell Yeah. And then DCU Daily will wrap up your week on Friday. So as always, keep checking back here for another episode of DCU Daily. Thanks again, everybody. Go out there, watch something in a movie theater, watch a movie at home, and come and talk to us about it. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and John, tell them where to hit that notification bell.
Yeah, just right there. So hit subscribe.
Like ding, ding, ding. Just
notification bell. Guys, like, I know we have a rough schedule. I get it. We're going from different sides of the country here. We can't help it. I'm sorry. But like, we have busy at certain times. So just hit the notification bell if you don't know when we're going live. So then you know when we're going live. So it's like way fucking easier. Like, come on, guys. Like, maybe even dislike. I don't give a shit. Just do something. Do something in interaction. Like, the YouTube algorithm hates everybody except Mr. Beast. So, we're just trying our best to, wiggle on in there.
Until next time, everybody. Thank you.
Until next time. Thanks for watching. Beetlejuice here.